this episode, I am going to reveal the real reason so many women are gaining weight, even when they are eating healthy, and why it actually has very little to do with willpower, calories, or discipline. And it's actually usually something much, much deeper happening inside the body. So, after working with many women who have struggled with unexplained weight gain and hormonal imbalance for years, I have noticed something very interesting. The women who feel the most frustrated with their weight are often the ones who are actually trying the hardest. They're the ones who are eating the salads, counting their macros, buying the healthy groceries, doing all the workouts, listening to all the podcasts, really, really, really trying to do everything right, which is exactly why I wanted to make this episode, because I have also been one of those women as well. So I'm making this to show you why so many women feel like they can never lose weight, even when they're eating healthy. Why the common advice you hear online about calories, dieting, exercising harder, creating a deficit often can make hormonal weight gain worse, and how shifting out of survival mode and reconnecting with your body is actually one of the most important steps toward balancing your hormones and therefore your metabolism again. Because so many women feel like they're doing everything they've been told to do, but their bodies still feel like they're working against them. By the way, if you are someone who knows that your body is out of balance right now, like you can just feel it, if you're dealing with things like fatigue or bloating, maybe you do know that you have, some hormonal imbalances going on, or maybe you do have unexplained weight gain that doesn't make sense. Maybe you're irritable, feeling burnout, overwhelmed, and really just want to come back home to yourself. I want you to know that this is exactly the kind of work that I walk women through with my 90-day program called the Balanced Hormonal Healing Journey. And I've actually opened up a few slots this month for you guys to join in the program. And it's got a whole new platform now. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. There's a community built into it, everything. So inside the program, we focus on regulating your nervous system. We support your hormones, and we help you reconnect with your body so you can finally start feeling calm, energized, and at home in your body again. Really, truly getting that transformation that you are seeking. So, if you want to know more about that, if you want to explore that, you can go to lindsayalexis.co/balanced. That is balanced with a D. So, let's jump in and talk about what's really happening when your body gains weight, even though you are eating healthy. So, one of the biggest misconceptions that women have about weight gain is that it's just about calories, right? We create enough of a deficit where we eat less or we eat more whole foods, and then we move more and we create this deficit in our macros and calories that we'll just end up losing weight, right? A lot of times we come face to face with people who are like, oh, you're just not being as disciplined as you should be. There's always something like you need to try harder in some kind of sense. So that's the message that most of us have heard literally our entire lives because it's everywhere. It's in the fitness culture, it's in diet culture, it's on social media, it's in magazines, even advertisements nowadays for pills and injections that promise to control your appetite or eliminate cravings. And because that message has been repeated to us so many times over many, many, many years, it has become the lens that women use to interpret what's actually happening in their bodies. So when weight gain happens, the immediate assumption is that something is wrong with us, that we are doing something wrong. Things like we're not trying hard enough, or we're eating too much, or we don't have enough self control. But here is the problem with that narrative. This is what I take offense to. If weight gain were truly just about calories and discipline, then the women who are trying the hardest, wouldn't they always be seeing the best results? And often that's not what is happening. So instead, I see women who are literally doing everything right on paper, right? But their bodies, they still feel stuck, right? Their bodies are stuck. And when that happens, it usually means something deeper is going on inside the body. Most of the time, it comes down to hormones. So, sorry, before I'm just getting over this sore throat. And then we have like pollen season right now. It's basically the snow of the South. So, I will be taking like multiple breaks throughout this episode to take a sip of water. So, don't mind me, especially if you're watching on YouTube. All right, before we go deeper into how hormones influence your weight, I wanted to pause for a second and acknowledge something that many women experience, but we rarely talk about openly. When your body starts changing in ways you don't understand, it can feel incredibly confusing. You might notice that your clothes are fitting differently. Maybe you start gaining weight in places that you never used to. Maybe your energy feels different. Your digestion feels different. Your sleep feels different. And the most frustrating part is that sometimes there's literally nothing wrong with your habits, or nothing has really changed with your habits. So you might still be eating fairly well, you might still be active, but your body really feels different. um One thing I want to add in here too is that's not in my notes. Foot swelling, it seems to be a more common problem now that women are having foot swelling in one or both of their feet. And I personally just learned some interesting facts about this too. So, again, we're doing all the things right, but these symptoms continue to show up. So, when there is no clear explanation, we often fill in those blanks with a self blame kind of dialogue, right? We say, okay, maybe I'm just getting older. Maybe my metabolism's slowing down. Um, Maybe this is just what happens as I go through perimenopause or menopause itself. But in many cases, what's actually happening is that the body is just sending you signals. Signals are something that internally needs attention, sorry. Something we were taught in school was your hormones obviously are going to be the communicators of the body, but a lot of places in your body, if you get, let me put it this way, if you bump your arm on a table or the edge of something, you get a bruise, right? That's your body's signal from the inside to the outside that blood vessels have been broken and it needs to be repaired, right? But what about internally with your organs? Your organs don't have nerve endings on them. So, how is your body supposed to signal that something is wrong with your organs if there is no nerve endings that are able to be triggered to indicate that it is in pain, right? So, this is kind of where we're getting at with understanding these signals, because these signals aren't always that obvious. And we often tend to just ignore them, and they start very small. And we talked about this on the last podcast. If you guys want to go back and check that one out when this is done, these signals, they grow louder and louder and louder the more we ignore them. And by the time they get really loud and they're screaming at us, we oftentimes have a lot more things going on in our body than what we could have resolved initially. Okay. So, my objective is to help you guys understand those signals. And when we do that, the experience becomes a lot less confusing and a lot more empowering. And that's what I want you guys to experience, is the empowering part of healing your body. So, all of that being said, your body has one job, just one, and it's not weight loss. Your body's primary job is simply survival. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. So, what's important to understand, and I'm going to side note on this too and go off my notes for a second. Your body's job, in survival mode, it operates off of a negative feedback loop. If you don't know what that is, basically your body is programmed to constantly give negative feedback. Think of it as someone critiquing you all the time. So your body is built like that because it wants to keep you alive, right? So anything externally or internally that is of a negative connotation, it's going to point out real quick because it wants you to survive, right? Um, we are no longer getting chased by animals in the wild where we have to fear for our lives or protect ourselves, but that doesn't mean our day-to-day lives don't trigger the same responses, and we'll get to that in a second. So I just wanted you guys to understand how this kind of works. So what's important to understand is that your body, like I just said, does not live in this modern world the way that your mind does. Your mind understands things like schedules and deadlines, jobs, emails, responsibilities, traffic, but your body interprets everything through a much simpler lens, which is safety. It's either safe or there's a threat there. And that's it. It's literally black or white. That is your RAS operating system, RAS. You guys can look that up if you want. I think I've spoken about it before on a different episode. I'm just not sure which one. But your it's called your reticular activating system. Anyways, go Google it, look it up after this episode. Safety or threat. When your body senses threat repeatedly, it adapts. So now the threat doesn't actually have to be something very dramatic. It's often a combination of smaller stressors that add up over time. So things like running on very little sleep could be one. Skipping meals or under eating is another good one. I mean, not good, but common. Constant mental pressure, trying to juggle everything that life demands of us. So balancing work and responsibilities, relationships, and everything else. Feeling like you always have to keep pushing, right? Try harder, do more, fill in the blank. Many women live in this state for years, literal years, without even realizing it, especially as we transition through different stages of our lives. And then that kind of habit becomes normal, becomes routine. And from our body's perspective, that constant pressure signals that resources are not reliable. And when the body believes that resources are not reliable, it becomes more protective with energy, which is where weight retention begins. When that happens, the body shifts into what we call survival mode. When that happens, your body starts prioritizing protection instead of optimization because it just wants to feel safe. Okay? One of the ways it's protecting itself is by holding on to energy. Energy in the body is often stored as fat. If you know anything about calories and the way we burn calories, the way we store fat, it's all connected. So when your body believes that resources might not be consistent, or when your nervous system is under chronic stress, you begin holding onto weight as a protective mechanism. This is not your body working against you. It's actually your body trying to protect you, which sounds counterintuitive. So to further explain that, one of the main hormones involved in this, I'm sure you already know, is cortisol, which is your body's primary stress hormone. There are other stress hormones out there. There are different hormones that interact with cortisol itself that are good hormones, and it's a whole entire system. We have so many different hormones in our body. I wouldn't even know where to begin to tell you all about all of them. So cortisol itself is not bad. Let's put that on the record. It is not bad by itself. We actually need it. We need cortisol to wake up in the morning. We need cortisol for energy. We need cortisol to respond to real life stressors. The problem is when cortisol stays elevated for long periods of time, talking about that chronic stress, right? Today's world, many women live in a near constant state of low level stress, not just emotional stress, but things like overworking, we overexercise, we undereat, we get poor sleep, constant mental stimulation, talk about doom scrolling on your phone, or having to like feel like you have to check your phone all the time for messages, especially if you're like a mom or something where you have your kids to have extracurricular activities, or maybe you're in the PTA, things like that. Like, I feel like each stage of our life, that constant mental stimulation really just keeps kicking in harder and harder. So you just always feel like you need to be on. And when the body experiences patterns like these for long enough, cortisol can just remain elevated, and chronically elevated cortisol makes it much easier for the body to store fat. And this is particularly what happens around the midsection. So sometimes the issue isn't that a woman is eating too much. Sometimes the issue is just that her body has been under so much pressure for so long that it has shifted into a protective state. There's another important thing to understand about cortisol. It doesn't just respond to emotional stress. It also responds to physical stress on the body. So, if you are doing things like very high intensity workouts every single day, or if you are under eating, or if you are restrictive dieting, talk about fasting, or if you are getting poor sleep, or if you have chronic inflammation, or if you have blood sugar instability and you don't know. All of these things can contribute to the body producing more stress hormones. When the body's constantly producing these stress hormones, it's very difficult for it to enter a state where healing and balance can actually happen. Healing requires a different internal environment. It requires calm, it requires regulation, it requires safety. And honestly, that's something many women simply haven't experienced in their lives for a very, very long time. It's unfortunate. This is actually one of the biggest things that we work on inside of the balanced hormonal healing journey, because most women think that they just need like a stricter diet or, different protocols or something. But the real shift happens when we help the body move out of that chronic survival mode. And in the program, we focus on regulating the nervous system, which is huge, supporting the hormonal balance that your body specifically needs, and helping you rebuild that trust within your body so that that healing can actually happen. Because if it's still in survival mode, that healing's not going to happen. So we have to regulate and create safety within our body, and then you actually start seeing all these shifts start to take place. So again, if that is something you want to explore, go on my website. You can learn more about it at lindsayalexis.co/balanced. Like I said earlier, that is with a D. Okay. It's also in the show notes too, or the description, whatever you want to call it. Another factor that plays a pretty big role in hormonal weight gain is blood sugar regulation. Blood sugar is something many people associate with diabetes, but in reality, it actually affects everyone. So every time we eat, your blood sugar rises, and then your body releases insulin to help move that energy into the cells. But when the blood sugar rises and crashes frequently throughout the day, it can create a lot of stress internally. Stress can trigger more cortisol, and it can increase cravings. Cravings are something we talked about in the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago, I think. And it can affect energy levels. So over time, it could contribute to the body storing more fat, which is why many women notice things like feeling shaky if they don't eat for a while, crashing in the afternoon about 2, 3 p.m. Maybe you have strong sugar cravings, especially at night. feeling tired after meals, like you have to go, like you just ate Thanksgiving dinner. All of these things can be signs that the body is struggling to regulate energy efficiently. And when energy regulation becomes unstable, hormones too often become unstable as well. This brings us to another piece of the puzzle that many women don't realize is affecting their hormones as well. So it surprises many women that chronic dieting can actually make hormonal weight gain worse. Yes, I said it. If you are dieting for a very long time, unfortunately, ladies, you potentially can gain weight. I'm sorry our bodies are like this. But now you know. So when the body is consistently experiencing this restriction, it begins to adapt. There's a term for it, thermogenic adaptation, I think is what it's called. Basically, your metabolism slows down, your body becomes more efficient with the energy that it has, and over time, your body can begin holding on to weight more easily because it's trying to prepare for what it perceives as future scarcity. So, if anybody knows anything about your total daily intake amount, like it's called TDEE, you just put your height, your weight, your gender, all these things in there, and it calculates how much calories your body burns in a day without doing anything. With this that we're talking about, you've been dieting for so long that now that TDEE is a lot less because your body has learned to adapt to having less. Makes sense. So one of the many reasons why women who have dieted for years often feel like their body is no longer responding the way it used to, is because of this, because it has adapted to long-term stress and restriction. So again, your body's not broken, right? It's just adapted. Another thing that often happens with long-term dieting is that women start losing trust in their bodies. So instead of listening to hunger cues, we rely on the rules, right? Counting our macros, making sure we do our deficits, making sure we're exercising, weightlifting, etc. Instead, we should be listening to what our body is telling us. And instead of responding to what our body needs in the moment, we continue to follow these plans. And while structure can be helpful in some situations, years and years of rigid dieting can actually create a sense of disconnection in the body. The body signals that we talked about earlier, they start feeling confusing. And the relationship with food becomes stressful instead of supportive. When that happens, healing often requires rebuilding that trust. Trust with food, trust with hunger, trust with the body's signals. One more hidden factor in hormone imbalance is that what that often gets overlooked is what I just said, the disconnection from your body. Many women have spent years overriding your body's signals. We ignore the hunger cues. I'll eat in 20 more minutes. Like, let me just finish this. I'll be in a minute. We ignore exhaustion. Well, I can't go to sleep right now because I have this to do. Or our kids are asking us to do these things. Or maybe work is asking us to do these things. And we ignore that exhaustion. We push through stress. We constantly try to control or force our body into a certain shape. And maybe that shape isn't in our ancestry, right? So over time, this can create a relationship where the body no longer feels safe. Healing hormones is not just about food or supplements. It's also about rebuilding a relationship with your body. Being able to listen to your body's cues again and actually building up those signals again too. Responding with care instead of pressure. And again, allowing the body to move back toward balance. Your body will start talking to you more the more you allow yourself to trust those body cues. Does that make sense? I hope it does. All right. So going back to what we said earlier is that the body heals best when it's in a state of safety. So again, not from pressure, not from punishment, not from constant correction. Safety allows the nervous system to regulate. So when the nervous system regulates, hormones often begin regulating themselves as well, which is why some of the most powerful shifts women experience aren't from pushing harder, but from learning how to slow down, support their bodies, and work from their own physiology instead of against it. So if you're listening to this episode right now, we've made it pretty far. I want you to ask yourself a few simple questions around everything we've talked about so far. So not from a place of judgment, please, just from pure curiosity. All right, the questions are, have I been pushing my body really hard for a long time? Have I been prioritizing productivity and responsibility over rest? Have I been trying to force my body to change instead of understanding what it might be asking for? Okay? Because sometimes the first step toward healing isn't doing more. Sometimes it's simply understanding more, understanding how your body works, understanding what it has been responding to, and beginning to approach it with more compassion instead of frustration. So if you have been feeling frustrated with your body, or if you feel like nothing you try is working, I want you to know something again. Your body's not broken. Most of the time, it's not working against you, okay? It's just responding to the signals that it's been receiving. When we begin changing those signals, the body can begin responding differently as well. Our body is extremely intelligent, okay? It wants us to return to homeostasis all the time. And if we can help support that, the better. So it's always responding to the environment that we're living in. It's responding emotionally, hormonally, even spiritually, right? When we begin changing that environment, the body will start to respond in new ways. So healing is rarely about forcing the body to do something, all right? It's about creating the conditions where the body can finally relax enough to do what it was designed to do, okay? And that's where real transformation begins. So again, if this episode resonated with you and you're realizing that your body may be stuck in survival mode, again, this is why I created the Balanced Hormonal Healing Journey. It's 90-day personalized, 100% personalized healing process. We focus on nervous system regulation, supporting hormonal balance, and helping you reconnect with your body in a way that actually feels sustainable. Again, that's at lindsayalexis.co/balanced with a D. It's also in the description if you need it. And if you found this episode helpful, make sure you follow the podcast because this is part 2 of a 6-part series. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about something so many women have been told is normal, and it actually isn't. Ready? We're going to talk about why heavy and painful periods are not normal and what they may be telling you about your hormones, okay? All right, I will see you guys in the next episode.